It started small, denials wrapped in silk-soft excuses. She was tired, a headache, stressed from work. I didn't push. That's what I told myself. Be patient. Be supportive. The drought stretched from weeks into months. 3, then 6. By the 8th month, I stopped counting. I wasn't naive. I saw it for what it was. Not a dry spell. Not life just getting in the way. It was rejection, cold and deliberate. But I didn't leave. I asked questions, tried reconnecting, even booked a weekend getaway she canceled last minute for a client emergency. She didn't even try to lie convincingly. I work in cybersecurity. I'm not some clueless fool. But I wanted to be wrong so badly. I played dumb longer than I should have. The night it happened, we were sitting in silence on the couch. She was scrolling her phone, expression blank, wine glass half full. I pretended to be into the documentary playing. Something about predators in the Arctic. Ironic. Then her phone lit up. She didn't even flinch. Left it on the armrest, screen angled just enough for me to read it clearly. The message preview glowed in white. I miss your body. When can we meet again? There was a pause. I could hear the blood rush in my ears. She didn't react. Didn't hide it. Just kept scrolling like the world hadn't tilted 30 degrees off balance. Like she wanted me to see it. I stood. Walked to the kitchen. No words. Just noise, glass clinking, the fridge door closing harder than necessary. When I came back, her phone was face down. She didn't look up. You forget to silence your lover? I asked flatly. She blinked once. Then exhaled slowly through her nose, still not looking at me. Don't make this dramatic, Mark. I tilted my head. So it's true. She sipped her wine. We haven't connected in months. What did you think would happen? I thought you'd talk to me. She finally looked up. Her face was calm. Annoyed, even. What would be the point? That was the moment I felt it. Something quiet inside me break. Not loudly, not angrily. Just final. Like a door shutting in a long, empty hallway. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw anything. I just sat down, picked up the remote, and muted the documentary. Who is he? I asked. She didn't answer. Coworker? Old friend? Random from the gym? Still nothing. I nodded slowly. You've been denying me for almost a year. Not because of stress. Not because you're tired. But because you were already sleeping with someone else. She didn't argue. That told me everything. I slept in the guest room that night. The next morning, I left early. Office at 7:15. Not because I had work. I just needed distance. I needed to think, to see it from the outside, not from the fog I'd been living in. On my lunch break, I logged into her cloud account. She'd forgotten I set it up for her 3 years ago. She never changed the recovery email. I had everything. Photos, messages, voice notes, calendar entries marked with little stars, his initials next to dinner times, hotel names, even D&D, emojis next to weekend trips. He was married. 2 kids. Lived 20 minutes away. She wasn't hiding it well. I guess she didn't think she had to. I was the loyal husband. The quiet one. The predictable one. She thought she'd broken me down so much, I wouldn't fight back. She was wrong. That night, I came home late. She was already in bed, lights off. I walked into the room, sat on the edge of the bed, and said only one word. His name's Darren. Her breathing hitched. Silence. I turned to look at her silhouette under the covers. Married man. 2 kids. Works in procurement. Likes red wine and overpriced hotel rooms. She said nothing. Do his kids know? His wife? I leaned closer. Do you know who he really is? Because I do. Still no response. I stood. Don't worry. I'm not going to blow it up. Yet. I left again. Not just the room. The house. I had keys to the rental downtown I used when I needed space during consulting gigs. I stayed there that night and the next. On the 3rd day, she called. You're being ridiculous, she said. I was at a cafe, sipping a lukewarm espresso, staring at traffic pass outside. Am I? It didn't mean anything. It's not like I was in love with him. Then why keep doing it? Because you were never there. You were always working. Always tired. You stopped trying. I almost laughed. The deflection was textbook. You could have told me that. You could have said something. I did, Mark. So many times. But you never listened. I paused. I listened. You just stopped speaking. The line went quiet. She didn't hang up. Just let the silence stretch. That was the last time we spoke for a while. A week went by. Then 2. During that time, I wasn't idle. I compiled everything. Messages, timestamps, photos. I traced Darren's company, found his wife's LinkedIn, even pulled property records. It wasn't about revenge. Not yet. It was about control. I wasn't going to explode. I was going to peel back the layers, one at a time. Quietly. Cleanly. She thought I was hurt. That I'd spiral, beg, yell. But pain isn't the absence of power. It's the ignition for something colder. Something smarter. And I was just getting started. 3 weeks after I left, she showed up at my downtown place. No warning. I heard the buzz at the door, checked the camera feed, and there she was. Hair tied back, face clean, eyes puffy. She looked like a woman who'd been crying for days. I buzzed her in. She stepped inside like she didn't know what she wanted. I stood by the kitchen island, coffee half made, laptop open behind me with Darren's LinkedIn profile on the screen. I came to talk, she said. You came to lie better, I corrected. Her jaw tensed. I know what I did was wrong. That's a start. She trailed off, voice cracking slightly. I didn't think you'd care anymore. You were so distant, so cold. You cheated. I cut in, calm but firm. Don't twist it into a tragedy. Her lips parted like she had a comeback. She didn't. I gestured toward the couch. Sit. She did. Hesitant. Like she was waiting for a verdict. You kept Darren on your calendar like he was a dental appointment, I said. You had hotel rooms saved in your favorites. One under our anniversary date. That landed. She flinched. I went through everything. Your phone. Your cloud. Your trash folder. Your sloppy Claire. Her eyes welled. I didn't think you'd look. Of course not. You thought I'd just keep turning away. Pretend. She wiped her cheek. I ended it. Not before I found out. She looked up. Does that matter? It does to me. I walked over to the counter, opened a drawer, pulled out a folder. Thin, precise, unmarked. I dropped it on the table. What's this? Insurance. She opened it. Photos. Screenshots. Email prints. Timeline charts with cross-referenced calendar dates and Darren's work events. She flipped through each page slower than the last. I sent a copy to your lawyer. Another to Darren's wife. She'll get it Monday. Her face crumpled. You wouldn't. She deserves to know. So do his kids. Her hands shook. You're ruining lives. No. I'm revealing them. She started crying. Loud, broken sobs. I watched unmoved. You destroyed us, I said. But that's not the part that hurts. The part that hurts is how boring the betrayal was. How lazy. She cried harder. Not for me. For herself. I stepped back. I need a break. You can let yourself out. She didn't move. So I left. Locked the door behind me. The next day, Darren's wife replied to my email. Short. One line. Thank you for your honesty. That was enough. The fallout began immediately. Darren went silent on his socials. His wife deleted all her photos with him. The next week, his name was removed from his firm's executive board page. Claire didn't call. Didn't text. I thought she might have finally grasped that the game was over. I underestimated her. 10 days later, I got a letter from her attorney. She was filing for separation, citing emotional cruelty. That made me smile. She was trying to flip it, make me the aggressor, paint herself as the victim to beat me to the courtroom. It was clever. Desperate, but clever. She forgot who she married. I called my attorney that night. Walked him through everything. Every file. Every date. We had documentation of everything. Her affair, her neglect, even financial records showing how she funneled money out of our joint account to pay for weekend getaways. I wanted her to push harder. I wanted her to try. 2 days later, I responded with my own filing. This time with cause. Adultery. Emotional abandonment. Fraudulent misuse of shared funds. My lawyer filed for preliminary injunction to freeze all shared accounts. We got it. Claire's credit cards stopped working by Thursday. She called. I answered on speaker, recording enabled. You froze my cards? She snapped. No. The judge did. She hissed. You think you're clever, don't you? I leaned back in my chair. I don't think it. I planned for it. You really want to burn everything down? No, I said. I want you to feel what silence tastes like. The kind you served me for months. She went quiet, then hung up. The next week, I saw her in court for the preliminary hearing. She looked different. Not just tired, unraveled. Her lawyer did most of the talking. Mine walked the court through the documentation with clinical precision. Timeline. Evidence. Adultery. Financial misconduct. When we adjourned, her lawyer pulled her aside and whispered. I didn't need to hear it. I already knew. They were losing. Later that evening, I got a message from an unknown number. Can we talk? Not as enemies. It was her. I didn't respond. The next day, she emailed a proposal for private mediation. I smiled. Because now, finally, she understood. This wasn't just about punishment. It was about leverage. And I wasn't done using it. We met at a neutral office space downtown. White walls, glass doors, complimentary coffee. Claire showed up 10 minutes early, dressed like it was a job interview, not a mediation. Button blouse, pearl earrings, face scrubbed raw from nights without sleep. Her lawyer sat beside her, stiff-backed, avoiding eye contact. Mine sat beside me, calm, folder in hand. We exchanged greetings. Nothing more. The mediator, a woman in her 50s, introduced herself, laid down the ground rules. Then she asked us why we were here. Claire's lawyer started. My client is willing to concede the primary residence and personal property in exchange for an amicable settlement of financial assets. No alimony requested. I almost laughed. My attorney replied, my client has provided overwhelming evidence of infidelity, financial misconduct, and emotional abandonment. He is entitled to asset majority, spousal damages, and full retention of business equity. The mediator looked at Claire. Mrs. Winters, is there anything you'd like to say directly? Claire looked at me. Her eyes searched for softness. She found none. I made mistakes, she said slowly. But I don't think it has to end in destruction. We built something. We shared a life. You shared Darren, I corrected, and several hotel rooms. And my money. I'm not asking for sympathy, she added quickly. I just want to move on. Without court battles. Without headlines. I studied her for a long moment. You're not worried about court, I said. You're worried about exposure. Her lawyer started to interrupt. I held up a hand. I don't want to drag this out either. But I need guarantees. Claire nodded. What kind? So I laid them out. Cold, clear, legal. No claim to my business holdings or intellectual property. Immediate relinquishment of all joint accounts. A signed admission of infidelity. A non-disparagement agreement. All digital correspondence with Darren deleted, verified by my tech team. Claire paled. That's a lot. No, Claire, I said evenly. That's called closure. Her lawyer leaned in. Whispered. She looked at me, then back at the folder on the table. She knew what was inside. She'd flipped through the photos. Read the emails. She didn't have leverage. Only shame. They asked for an hour to discuss. I gave them 20 minutes. They returned with a counteroffer. She wanted to keep the Lexus and the lake house her parents co-signed. That was fine. I never liked the lake anyway. By the end of the day, the paperwork was drafted. She signed everything. When the mediator stepped out to make copies, Claire leaned forward, voice low. Was it worth it? All this? I didn't hesitate. Yes. You look so cold. I am. And you made me this way. She sat back, eyes glossy. I don't hate you, Mark. You never had to, I said. You just had to forget me. That was worse. The divorce finalized 6 weeks later. Clean. Efficient. Quiet. Darren's wife filed hers, too. He was let go from his firm, due to restructuring. Claire moved into a smaller apartment in the city. I heard she started a freelance design business. Solo. No investors this time. I never responded to her follow-up emails. The apologies. The late-night guilt messages. I didn't block her, either. That was too merciful. She still pings every few months. Just enough to remind me of what she lost. Just enough to confirm I made the right call. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need revenge that scorched the earth. I just needed her to understand what it feels like to be denied, to be ignored, to be erased while standing in the same room. What she did in bed with him, that was betrayal. What she did to my trust, that was war. And I won. Quietly. Entirely. Now I sleep in a new place. Bigger. Brighter. Alone, but at peace. And sometimes, just before bed, I open that folder. Not to hurt. Not to relive. But to remind myself of the most valuable lesson she ever taught me. Never ignore the silence. It's the sound of something ending and something colder beginning.